Hello. Hi. Ah, it's that time again. Uh-oh, hold on. There we go. I don't know why my camera keeps doing that. Anyway, yes, I'm sitting in a different spot because today it's time to fix this hand. Look at these nails. These are a mess. I've got one here that I need to trim. I've got another here that's all grown out. All that is missing. I've got this one that's grown out and busted on the top. This is grown out, and this one, I don't know. So this hand is completely finished. As you can see, this is salon style ready. It's completely done. It's ready for polish. We're going to make this hand. Now, I did a lot to this hand on purpose so I could show you guys what to do. But before we start, hi, and welcome. Welcome back to those of you that have been here before. For those of you that are new, it's fine. I'm fine. Everything is fine here in Connie's little corner. And yes, in case you didn't guess, I'm Connie. For those of you that are new also, please go down into the description box and you will find my link, which will take you to TEMU so that you can download the app. Once you download the app, my code, which I will put right up here for you, AFC 95851, that code will get you 50% off your first order. You're not limited as to what items you pick. You can pick a sale item, a flash, lightning deals, flash sales, whatever the case may be. But in order to get that 50% off, you need to do your shopping within the first hour of downloading the app. Okay? So get busy. And we're going to get busy here. I'm going to turn this so that you can see. I have everything all set up here. So you're not going to see, oh yes, I have my Halloween, my Happy Hallow Thanksmas shirt on. Got lots of compliments on this today. So you're not going to see much of my face in this video, but what you're going to see is my hand as we work to do these repairs. And if you've watched Tips and Tricks Part 4, which is learning to do your own acrylic nails, this is Part 5, which is learning how to do repairs and fills. So we're going to work through this. Hopefully you have enough light. I've given you as much light as possible. So we're going to get started. So the very first thing you do, of course, is you take off any nail polish that you have on. Then you're going to grab your cutters, your cuticle clippers or your regular nail clippers, and you're going to remove anything that has come loose along the bottom of your cuticle. All right, so all you're going to do is basically just put the tip there. You're not going to put any real pressure on it because you don't want to force this underneath the nail. But if there's anything loose, you just want to catch it and trim it away. And you can see sometimes if something's loose because it'll look white. You can tell it's actually not attached. So this one's attached pretty good. There really isn't much loose on that one. This one I have a little bit more to trim down on. Now, I'm going to show you on the next nail. Okay, this one looks good. This nail, now you can see the fill, see the gap in the growth. Because the tip is so substantially attached, I don't have to take this off and replace it. I can just fill the gap and this nail will be fine. This nail, the middle nail, on the other hand, has a long growth gap down here and I jammed it and it's completely snapped off the top. Well, this might be a good length for some of you, but it's way too short for me. So this nail I'm going to take off. There's two ways to do this. I can either use this tool because I'm experienced with it and chip away at this little by little, or I'm going to show you what I think is the easier way for you guys to do it. I usually take a nail tip that I wouldn't use very much, and that's like a 0, which is these big giant nails. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to take this and I'm going to flatten it. I'm going to put it right here. And I'm just going to pound it a little bit till I flatten. And it doesn't matter what end. You can flatten either end. That makes it small enough to where it will fit underneath the nail. And these are on really good, so it might not even work for me. But they fit under the nail, and they make it easy for you to work that nail off without hurting yourself. So you just start with a little corner, and you work your way across and help it come off to where then the nail will just lift. There you go. Nails off. See? It's nothing to use one of these nails to help you do that. It's not wasteful. It's very easy. So then you're going to take this nail that now does not have a tip on it, and you're going to make sure that you trim it down so that you do not have any of your own nail sticking up too far, because you want that new tip you're going to put on to adhere properly. So I made the decision to take this one off because it had too much growth and too much breakage on the top that it's just easier to do a brand new nail on it. So that one's ready. We're going to continue with our nails and make sure that we check anything that might be lifting, that we remove it. Okay, that one's good and tight. We'll check the pinky nail for the same thing. Is there anything down here that needs to be snipped off that might be a little bit loose or lifting? This helps your nails stay on longer by getting rid of anything that is detaching itself. And it'll do that just from wear. And I am very, very rough on my nails. I do construction with these nails. All right. That takes care of the trim. So I've got everything ready for step 2. So the first, or I should say step 3. So the first step was taking off the polish. The second was taking off anything that might be loose or removing any nail that completely needs to be replaced. Now what we're going to do is we are going to buff our nails to prep them, almost kind of like we did in the beginning. So I'm going to use my Dremel for this, but you all know that you can use your regular Emery board for it. All right. All I'm going to do is I am going to rough up. You don't ever want to buff a nail. If you want glue or acrylic or anything, you don't buff it. You rough it. It has to be rough and bumpy to take. So using my Emery board barrel, I'm going to just, whoops, hold on. I got this cord wrapped around my arm. All right. I am just going to go along the edge where the new growth is and rough that up. And then just lightly rough up the rest of the nail. Just a couple of swipes. That's it. Just to make it rough enough to take the fill that I'm going to put on it. And because some of the fill I might have to pull across the nail, I do the whole nail. You go on, you do the next nail. Same thing all the way across. Push your cuticles back. Get them out of the way. Right. You're going to rough up that spot that has no acrylic on it. Smooth down a little bit that edge where there's a gap between here and there. You want to make sure that you don't have a sharp edge there. You want to smooth it down a little bit. And then, again, lightly just buff up the end. Okay. Not really doing much. The nail I took off, I'm just going to rough up the entire nail to make it ready for the new tip that's going to go on it. There we go. That's it. Doesn't take much. Continue until you have all 5 fingers done. Again, smooth out that little dip, that lip between your existing acrylic and where there's no acrylic. Just smooth it down a little bit. Rough up that nail a little bit. And on the last finger, same thing. And you're not shaping right now. All you're doing is prepping the nail to take the new acrylic. Okay, smooth out the whole nail. That's it. See how quick that was? It will go just as quick if you did it with a hand file. I could have done the exact same thing using an Emery board, and it would have been sufficient because, again, we're not shaping. We're not doing anything right now other than making a rough surface. All right, next step. Just like we did before, we're going to grab a nail that's going to fit, and I'm thinking that my middle finger might be a 5, if I remember correctly. Oops. In case you couldn't tell, every one of these nail tips, way up here in the very top of the nail, right up there on the top, it has a number with the size. I don't know if you can see it here or not. This one has a number 5 right up there. I don't think the 5 is big enough for this hand. I think it's fine for the other hand. I think I need probably, I don't know, I need a 4 or a 3 for this one. 4, let's try a 3. Both of my hands are different, so it's a little odd. Okay, I think the 3 is going to be it. All right, so this one fits nicely. You can see it comes across to both sides of the nail. It doesn't go beyond the side to side of the nail. So this one is, oh, wait a minute, is that a 3? Let me double check here. Yeah, it's a 3. It says 3. Okay. So that's the perfect size to fit this finger, is a 3. Get my glue. I always keep extra glue around. And I keep a pin handy. You might want to keep one of the bigger safety pins handy in case the end of your glue ever gets stuck where you can open it up again. So again, we're just going to put a little bit of glue in that dip area of the nail, if this has any glue in it. Might not. Hold on. I'm going to get this out. So when you can't see in these and you don't know if they have glue in them or if they're just stuck. So I'm going to open that back up again. And I always leave the pin open until it's dry so it doesn't glue itself shut. All right, let's see if we have any in there. Oh, this one, oh, yep, we do. There we go. All right. Spread it around a little bit. Make sure it takes. Stick it on my finger. Come on, finger. There we go. Just hold it down there for a couple of seconds till it's in place. Okay. Perfect. Side to side it fits. It's not wider than my finger is. It's still within the sides of my finger. Make sure you get it on nice and straight, because if you don't get it on straight, it might not stay on or it might give you problems. I think I'm at the bottom of the glue in this container, and I do want to add a little bit of extra. So this one's going to go in the garbage. I'll put that behind me. Open up a new one. I always have a spare ready to go. Where's my pin? I don't know if this one has anything in it either. We'll see. Oh, it does. I can see it coming. So as I showed you before, I'm just going to put a little drop back here along the edge so that it'll get under the nail and make sure it adheres properly. Okay. All right. So now all my nails are ready for the next step. And before I cut this nail down, because I'm not putting tips on everything else, I'm going to make sure it's good and dry. So I'm going to get out my primer. Anytime you do a fill, you want to make sure that you always have your primer. And I use the acidless primer, the acid-free primer, so that it doesn't burn. And you put a little swipe down along the bottom edge where you're going to be putting the fill on your natural nail. This does not get put on the acrylic part, just on your natural nail. We talked about how your natural nail is not meant to take this the same way that the acrylic nail is. All right, this has been sitting long enough. I'm going to shorten it, take it next to my other finger so I can compare the sizes, see where I need to cut it. Give it a snip. There we go. All right, now, as we talked about in the last one, I'm not going to file this to shape, I am just going to make sure I take off the sharp corners so that it'll be a little easier after I fill it to get it to the shape that I want. This new nail hasn't been filed yet. It has to be roughed. So I'm taking my Dremel again. I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did on the other nails. I'm just lightly roughing the surface so that it will take, and I'm just lightly roughing again my own nail. That's it. Okay, so we are primed, we are roughed, we are glued. Every nail here is now ready to be filled. The filling process is identical to when you did the original process. Nail powder. I have my trim out brush in case I need it for any edges. I always keep the brush I'm going to use in its container after I clean it. It would help if I took the top off, wouldn't it? We'll take the top off. Whoa! It's nice and clean and soft, and I can feel there's no gunk on it. If you feel any hard spots in your brush, make sure you clean it really, really well before you try to use it. I'm only doing a fill, so I do not need a lot of the monomer. Remember, this is called monomer. So I'm only going to put one good squirt in there. Close it back down. Just so that you can see how little I've put in here. Can you see? Not very much, because we're only doing a fill. And I don't like to keep leftovers in this because I have this big black case that everything goes into when I'm done, and then I just set it aside. So this carries everything. It's a complete kit. Everything I need is going to go in there. All right. Move the mousey out of the way. This is the easy part, but this is the part I got to take my glasses off because it's close work. So again, we're going to dampen our brush just like we did the first time. Quick swipe over each nail just to help prime it a little bit better. Now, because we're doing a fill, we don't have to use as much material. So we're going to dip our brush, a little wipe, dip it in. If your brush is a little dry, you can always add more. You're just going to press it onto the nail as close to the cuticle as you can get. I tend to push it back to where I'm filling it so it doesn't come out completely on the nail. Doesn't need to be completely on the nail, right? Because the rest of the nail is still there. And then with just a feather touch, pull it forward, side to side till I smooth it out. Pat it down if you need to. If you need a little bit more fluid, go ahead. Put a little more fluid on to keep it soft until you can work it into where you want it. And there you go. You can see that first nail is now filled. It just has to be filed to finalize the shape. So I filled the gap. This is how quick it goes. Dip, dip, apply, pat it down, brush it smooth. I do tend to take a little extra fluid when I'm brushing it smooth on a fill, just to make sure that I'm getting it spread to where I need it to be. Okay, that's how quick it goes. Fills are very, very easy. Dip, dip. Now, this is a complete nail I have to do, so I'm going to take a little bit more of the solution. I'm going to start at the back of the cuticle. Remember, I keep my fingertip down because it helps to spread it a little easier to make it nice and even. Okay, then I'm going to dip again. Fill my brush. Start where I left off. Spread it from side to side. Brush it down, and this time I tend to pull from the cuticle down. So that it smooths out the entire area. There we go. So that's the first coat on the new nail. You can see it's completely coated. I'm going to add to it because we do want a certain thickness. And don't hesitate to clean off your brush in between because it's always a good idea to make sure that your brush stays clean. All right. I'm going to take a bigger blob this time because that's what I'm used to. I want you guys to only take smaller blobs, though, please. Don't be taking big blobs like I do. Because this one, I'm going to do the whole nail now with the second coat. I'm going to press this on nice and tight, get a little more fluid here. There we go. I'm going to press it down to the nail. Going to work it forward on the nail. Okay, you follow me so far? You have to have, in order for these acrylic nails to be strong enough, you have to have a thick enough layer of acrylic on your nail. And again, don't worry about it being perfect. You have your cut brush, and I use my cut brush all the time to help smooth it out to where I need it to be, my cleanup brush or my trim out brush, whatever you want to call it. I have to trim around it, get any excess off. And that happens when I do a full nail in a big blob like that. You do have sometimes that you have to get a little bit of excess off your finger. Sometimes it sticks to the brush. All right, clean my brush up a little bit more. Give one big swipe over this again. Now this nail, even though it's not perfectly shaped because we haven't done that yet, now it has enough on it. Can you see the thickness in these nails? Let's see if I hold it this way. Can you see how thick they are? They're not thin. You can see that they have some body to them. They're thick enough that they won't break. You see the actual thickness in the nail itself. And if I hold it this way, you can see the curve in the nail. Can you see that? See how it has that nice roundness to it? And it has the roundness this way to it. This is what we're going to be doing. This is why this nail now has the thickness that it needs by getting that second level. The shape will come with the filing. All right, last two. We'll do these up real quick. Dip and dip. Make sure this looks gray, whitish gray. That way you know you have enough fluid to spread it properly. Pat it in as close to the cuticle as you can get. And you notice for the fill, I'm using the smaller brush. I'm using the size 9. I'm not using the 16. I don't need the big 16 to do a fill. So I patted it to the cuticle. Now I've smoothed it out to the rest of the nail to make it all blend. Ta-da! And we'll wipe on the brush, clean it off. All right, last dip. And of course, you're going to dip only as much as you need based on how big the gap is on your finger. So if you don't have a really big gap, you don't need a lot. And you can only need to use a little bit of acrylic. This comes with practice, but I will tell you that it's better to only do a little bit at a time as opposed to doing too much and then having a buildup that you can't work with, that you have a problem filing it down or shaping it because you put too much acrylic on there. So it's a lot easier to just do it a little bit at a time. All right, we'll trim out here on the corner I can see I need. There we go. All right, that's done. So every nail has been filled all the way down. The new nail has been filled. Now we're ready for exactly what you did before. But before we do anything else, remember, clean your brushes. Make sure there's no globs in there. I dip it into the monomer. I do have brush cleaner, but you guys may not have that yet. Dip it good into the monomer. Wipe it down. Make sure there's no clumps in it. Run your hands across it. shape that bristle into a nice little cone, and you'll be able to feel if there's anything in there. You don't want anything to be in there. Pop it right back in its container. Put the lid back on. No, it does not have to dry out. The monomer will stay moist on it, and that's fine. It won't hurt it any. If you do have monomer left in your jar, just cover it and set it aside for the next time you're going to do your nails. As long as it's covered, it will not evaporate. But this may be somewhat dirty from the brush or just from being exposed, and you don't want to mix it in with your good, nice, clean, pure monomer that you have. Okay? All right. These next steps you know how to do, so I'm just going to do one nail and not do the whole hand because I don't want to tie you guys up forever. But I just knocked my glasses on the floor. Put them back there. So this is the same as what you had done before. You're going to start with the edges of your nail on the sides, and you're going to file the sides. Make sure if you have to push your skin out of the way, push it out of the way. File the sides. Shape your nail by rolling your emery board across your nail until you get the shape that you want. That's the first step, right? Okay. Then you're going to define your cuticle and smooth out your nail. The first step is to do it with the emery. Whether it's the hand emery board or not, you're just going to define where your cuticle is. Push your cuticles back if you need to. Define that cuticle area so that you get that nice curve at the bottom. If you're using the Dremel to do it, be very, very careful because the Dremel can be very, very sharp and draw blood. Push everything out of the way. You're just going to lightly go over the top of it. If you need major shaping, then yes, you're going to file it a little bit more. But this nail does not need major shaping. It just needs a little bit of filing where I added. There we go. Down the sides. Cross that bottom to keep that curve going. So it makes it look nice and round on your finger. See? There you go. Now I'm going to switch my tip. And this is where you would pull out your buffer. But I'm going to switch my tip over to the second smallest barrel. And I'm just going to, one more time, go along the edge to define that cuticle. Make sure I've got it perfect. Make sure I've got the edges smoothed out. This is also going to technically buff the nail, smooth the nail down so that it'll be ready for a final buffing. There we go. Back and forth across it. Okay, you can feel the change between using the emery board or the barrel, whichever you're going to use. You can feel the change from that to this or the rougher side of one of these. So this is equivalent to the rough side of this. Now all I have to do is find the smoother side, because remember, all four sides are different. So I just have to find the smoother side and do the final buff on the nail. And remember, don't forget the bottom of the nail. Go along the edges, underneath, a couple of swipes this way so that your nail is not scratchy. So this nail is now ready for polish after I give it a good scrubbing. And I'm just going to do the same thing to the next four. So that's it. That's all there is to doing a fill or a repair. So I've shown you how to use a tip in order to remove a tip. You could soak it off. You could very easily just take nail polish remover or solvent and just soak it. But I will tell you, soaking is not good for your finger in general because that stuff does get into your skin. So I am a disbeliever in soaking. And I've been doing this for close to 30 years. I do not like the soak method. So I'll either use this tool to work it off a little at a time, or as you saw, I will flatten the nail and use the flattened acrylic piece to slide underneath it and work it off. Using the flattened nail is the least painful way. In other words, it doesn't really hurt if you take your time and do it just a little bit at a time. All right. And you saw how easy it was for me to lift it and then just pull the nail the rest of the way off. So you've learned how to do a fill. You've learned how to replace an entire tip, which is like starting, remove and replace an entire tip, and how I determined why. It had too much of a gap to fill, and for me, it was too short. So I knew instead of spending time building it out and using a wrap, it was just easier to put on a new tip. Okay? The rest of them were just basic fills. So all I'm going to do now is just finishing filing my nails. So anyway, thanks for hanging with me. I hope you learned a little bit more about doing your own nails. There are no product links to put down below, but if you check the tips and tricks part 4 with the original nail tutorial, you will find links to all sorts of different nail products that you need to do this yourself. Anytime any one of you is doing it, if you're having an issue, hey, we can do a FaceTime, whatever you might need. We can do a live chat, a text. I'll be happy to walk you through it. Thanks for watching. See, I told you, I'm fine. Everything's fine. It's fine. It's now on the pillowcase, which is really soft. And as she believed she could, so she did, with the 2 butterflies coming off the side. That came out beautiful. Absolutely love it. 2 bags up here that I still have to iron on. And of course, I'm wearing my favorite iron-on Halloween shirt. Now I have an iron-on, and I'm going to do my nails and wait till the next video when you see the color I put on these. Big thumbs up, guys. Love you. Share. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. You're helping my channel grow. You know I got your backs. I'll catch you soon in probably less than a couple of days.